Let us pray. O Holy One, open our hearts, minds, bodies, and souls to you. May we receive your revelation in glory, and may we accept your invitation to join you in that revealing. Amen. Please be seated. So I remember the very first time I came out. And the hilarious thing is I didn't realize I was doing it when I did it. I was in 7th grade. I was 12 years old. And there was a young boy in one of my classes that I thought was really cute. And so I had this recurring dream over several weeks. And I mean, when you think back to when you're in 7th grade, you don't know any of that stuff when it's going on. You have no idea what's going on. So it was making me anxious and confused. I had no idea what any of it meant. And so I was sitting across from my mother on the couch, and I was sharing this with her. I was like, I'm having this dream, and I don't know what it means. Like, what is this? To which her response was just to simply smile, say, oh, honey, it's called puberty. You're just growing up. And so that was my first coming out story. And I didn't even realize it. There was no confetti cannons, there was no cake and rainbows shooting out everywhere. It was a simple conversation with my mother sitting on a couch. So that was my first coming out story. My second was 2 years later when I was in high school. It was my freshman year, my first semester. And I maybe had 2 or 3 friends in the whole school at this point. And yet I felt the need to share with them who I am, to just be upfront and to open myself up and be vulnerable. And we all had choir together, so I remember going in and I was anxious and nervous about how they would receive me. And so for some weird, crazy reason, I thought, well, maybe if I came out as bisexual, it's more palatable for them because I still like women, but also like guys. And so I came in and I said, hey guys, I'm bi, to which their response was, well, Grant, we love you and accept you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Really? Bisexual? Really? Are you sure? So by the end of class, I was like, yeah, you caught me. I'm gay. And that was my second coming out story. And then there was a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and so on and so forth where I was coming out to others in my high school. Growing up in Williamsburg in 2006, not many people were out. So when someone came out, it was a big thing. Everyone knew. And the same with my church. I was coming out to my youth group there, and I was coming out to the church as a whole. Until I get to about my 40th or so coming out, which was at the end of my freshman year of high school. And it was to my father. Now, at this point, I was terrified. I had been putting off sharing with him because I had no idea how he would respond. But I knew that in this process that I was on, in these intentional acts, I had to share who I am, who God has called me to be with. And so some background on this, my parents divorced when I was really young. So my sister and I lived with my mom in Williamsburg. My dad lived in Halifax, Virginia. So there was a 4-hour difference. We just happened to be visiting him this one weekend for my grandmother's 70th birthday. And I remember just feeling so distant and so afraid of him rejecting me, of him being angry. I didn't know what to expect. So I just remember writing this very long 2 to 3 page letter in which I came out to him in it. And then 2 minutes as the car is loaded up, we're about to head back to mom's, I'm slipping it on his nightstand and running out the house. So by the time my dad drove me 4 hours to the coast and then drove his 4 hours back, I had a nice 100-something miles between him and me when he read this letter. So about 5 hours after I had gotten home, I got a phone call from him. And I was too afraid to answer it, so I let it go to voicemail. But I listened to it, and that was the most loving, moving message I've ever gotten. I was so thankful that he was able to see me and to accept me and the truth of who God is. So you may be wondering why I share this with you. Well, I share it with you because I hope that my experience as a queer individual can help you all understand what's going on in this gospel passage. Quick show of hands, how many read the Friday Flash? Oh, wow. Good. I love this. I'm glad to know that people read the Friday Flash. So I left you with a cliffhanger. I left you waiting for the end of this story. Well, we just read it in the gospel today. You see, the powerful thing that's going on in this passage is that Jesus, this is his first act of coming out. Not as a gay man or a straight man, but as the Messiah, as God revealed in the world, God incarnate. This is the first of Jesus's. And I think that's an important distinction to note. In the gospel, it says that this was the first of many signs that Jesus does to reveal the glory. And that connects, I think, to what people in the LGBTQ community understand in their own coming out. You see, I think there's a misconception out in the world that to come out means it's a one-time thing where you do it and it's a big fanfare and then everyone knows and you're done. But it's not. It's an intentional act that you do every single day. It's a decision to be who God has called you to make yourself vulnerable, to walk out into the light and reveal God's wholeness. And that's what we see Jesus doing here. Because we all know, if we've followed the gospel in any measure whatsoever, we know that this isn't where the gospel ends. Jesus comes out repeatedly when he feeds the 5,000, when he heals the hemorrhaging woman, when he heals the paraplegic and makes the blind man see, when he's flipping tables in the temple, and when he's raising Lazarus from the dead. He is coming out each and every single moment up to the cross and to the tomb, and to the moment that he walks out of that tomb into the light. And so thinking about this, it raises a question for me and for all of us. Are you ready to come out? Because let me tell you what I observe. I observe here at St. Matthew's. I observe in the broader church, in this country overall. I believe the vast majority of us are closeted. We are afraid to share the truth of who we are. We're afraid to share who it is that we believe and share the life that we hope to live, to share who God is calling us to be. And I understand that. I understand wanting to stay in that closet, to stay in that dark space, because it feels safe sometimes. It has an air of control about it. If I don't talk about who I am in the world, then people can't judge me for it. If I don't share what I'm feeling, well, then they have nothing that they can say about me. I can control what people think and feel and do around me, all the way to the point of we think we can control God and what God is doing in our life. We just put it in this box and hide it away. My personal. But I will tell you this. I would bet a lot of money that if you go up and respectfully ask any person in the LGBTQ community, and they're willing to share their story with you, they will tell you that that sense of control, of security, is an outright lie. It doesn't exist in the closet. It doesn't exist in the darkness. Because the reality and the truth of the world is that people have their opinions of you, and they're going to have their feelings about you, and they're going to say the things that they want to say. You cannot control other people and what they think about you. The only person that's being hurt by you hiding yourself away and who God is calling you to be is yourself. It's hurting you in the life that we hope to live and to become. And I think that's a lesson that the queer community can share with the church. One of the many gifts we bring. Because we've lived in the closet and we know what it means to burst out of it, we know what it takes to live in the open, to be vulnerable and share the love that we find in God, share the love that we find in ourselves, and to have God's glory revealed. Jesus understood this. He revealed himself constantly over and over and over again. But I want you to think about this. What would the world look like today if Jesus had done none of those things? What would the world look and be like if Jesus had stayed in his closet and not revealed God's glory? If the 5,000 weren't fed, if the leper wasn't healed, if the paraplegic still couldn't walk, and the blind man was still blind, and if the crucifixion never happened and the resurrection, how depraved would this world be? If Jesus had not come out each and every single day to live into that life, to live that act of vulnerability in the world, we would not have seen the fullness of God. We would not have experienced and heard the redeeming power of God's love. We wouldn't have seen what it looks like to live an authentic, whole life that is modeled to us by Jesus. The world would be a different place. Now I ask you to bring that into your own life. How might this world be different if you choose to stay in your closet? If you choose not to come out as a follower of Jesus? If you choose not to share your faith? If you choose not to live that faith out daily? Who are the people in your life that would never know God's love? Who are the people that would never feel the healing touch of God? Who are the people that wouldn't get fed? Who are the people that would be left homeless? Who would be the people that would be left without hope? The beautiful thing about this is that we are invited into God's revelation through these waters that we are baptized in. We can choose to act each and every single day. Come out of these waters and to share all of that in the world. We are a part of revealing God. And so as scary as it might be, as hard as it might be to be vulnerable in the world, there's something beautiful about doing it. I can say from my own experience, and I think it would be true of many who have come out of the closet before me and who will come out after me. I think many of us would say that first moment when you step out of that door and into the light, it is like breathing air for the first time. To let go of this semblance of control of the world and just trust in God and trust in who God is calling us to be. It's a beautiful thing that I think Jesus calls us. We've been talking about what it means to live a good, wholesome life with the good place, right? And I think this is where the act part comes in. It's not one act that will get us to a good, wholesome life. It's not one act that will get us to God and to God's glory. It's the act that we do each day. Repetitive act, the process coming out. So I leave you with this question. Are you ready to come out? Are you ready to help reveal God's glory in your life? Are you ready to reveal who God has called you to be and all the beautiful things about you and the things that you think aren't that pretty? Are you ready to open yourself up and share with them the transforming love of Jesus that we all hold so dear in our lives? Are you ready to be transformed? Are you ready to share that transformation with the world? Please come out. Come to the light and find Jesus. Amen.